Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing some of the needs that I feel like the Dallas Cowboys still need to address before training camp. I've made plenty of videos like this in the past. Last year, I talked about running back being an issue. I had to eat crow because of Javonte Williams, but running back depth ended up being an issue. I didn't like the state of the defensive tackle position. That ended up biting us. Not really, because the Dallas Cowboys had to overcorrect their wrong on defense and they had to fix that position, so they did. But by nature, we got worse at the end. Years past talked about, wide receiver 2 being a problem once we got rid of Amari Cooper. Talked about linebacker being an issue, linebacker depth being an issue in 2023, so on and so forth. So it's going to be another one of those videos where I feel like the Dallas Cowboys still need to look at some positions, because once training camp starts, the Dallas Cowboys are not really going to look to really fix any of their needs, especially if there's not a major injury. They're probably just going to go with what the roster they have right now. So before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. So hopping straight into it, I think one of the major positions that the Dallas Cowboys need to address and they need to look at before training camp starts, because again, like I said earlier in the intro, once training camp starts and they're in pads and they're warming up out there in Oxnard, California, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be just fine unless one of the coaches or one of the talent evaluators look at the roster and say, we're lacking here, and this position group is getting tore up and we need to add a veteran. I think one of those position groups that we need to do that is a cornerback room. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys need to add 2 corners. One corner is in a bit of legal trouble, but I'm going to talk about that and talk about just football teams in general when I talk about Terran Arnold. But the second thing that I feel like the Dallas Cowboys need to look at is a vet. I think one of the vets that the Dallas Cowboys need to look at, I talked about it, made a long form video about it, which was Kenny Moore when he got released. I think the Dallas Cowboys need to look at it. Right now, I'm not being unrealistic. I don't think a Patrick Surtain or an AJ Terrell, Derek Stingley type of corner is going to be available to you on the market before the start of the season happens. Now, anything can happen. There could be, somebody has their own Michael Parsons fallout this year, and they have to get rid of a big-time defensive player before the start of the season. If that happens, prayerfully the Dallas Cowboys are on it to give up some future draft capital to turn around this defense. But I don't see that happening in the cornerback market this year, so I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to spend a little bit of money. I think Kenny Moore should be one of those guys. I think Tre'Davious White is an outside corner that I believe can play teams if need be, but I believe he could be a solid outside corner for the Dallas Cowboys if we were to bring him in. The Dallas Cowboys already discussed interest in bringing in a guy like Adoree Jackson, so if they were to bring him in, it wouldn't be terrible, but I think Adoree Jackson is good when he doesn't have to go up against George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. But unfortunately, when you play in the conference in which we do and the division in which we do, we still have some really top flight wide receivers that Adoree Jackson will have to play against. And ultimately, how some of us didn't like Anthony Brown. I know I was one of those guys. I couldn't stand Anthony Brown. But if Adoree Jackson's on that field, I feel like he's going to be fighting the scrub for us on the defense side of the football. And we really can't have that happening. But I still feel like Kenny Moore, Trey White, Jeff Okudah is somebody I wanted to talk about as well. I feel like that can be like a Dallas Cowboys reclamation project, and they love those. Yeah, I love Jeff Okudah when he came out in his draft process in 2020. Just injuries and wrong team, but I really loved him coming out. One player that we're going to talk about is Terran Arnold. I know he's going through legal trouble right now. He got caught up doing some sort of robbery and kidnapping. I don't condone any of that, and I think it's very ignorant what Terran Arnold did. But we also have to understand, if he isn't found guilty, and as long as he didn't kill nobody, he's not verbally or physically abusing somebody's daughter, and he's free of all charges, I believe that he should be considered. A former first round pick in 2024. I really love this tape coming out of Alabama. The reason why I would like to bring in a guy like Terran Arnold is because in the NFL, and being a rooting for a fan, you can't have it both ways. You can't have a guy who's a dog on the field and is a really good person off the field. Yes, in society, we want you to be a well-rounded person. We want you to act right at your job and away from your job. But in reality, not everyone's going to listen to those rules. Same thing. You have good kids, you have bad kids, so on and so forth. You have good things in life, bad things in life. So yes, Terran Arnold decided to do a bad thing. Doesn't mean that he's a bad person, but he did do a fucked up act, and he's getting in some legal trouble for it. I think once those charges, whatever happens, again, if he's convicted on felony charges, I believe he'll be in prison, not jail, but prison. I believe for like 20 something years. So then it doesn't really matter at that point. But if he doesn't get convicted, I think the Dallas Cowboys should look to address him. You can throw tomatoes in the comment all you want, but again, that's what everybody didn't like about Jason Garrett. Nobody liked Jason Garrett because he would bring in all the guys who weren't quiet, who weren't fiery. Yes, you think about Dez Bryant, but for every fiery person like we had with Dez, everyone bitched and complained about how everybody else was quiet on the team and nobody had any fight or anything in their face once we were getting our ass beat in the playoffs or in regular season games. People didn't like that with Mike McCarthy. We had all the good people. Yes, we had people like Sam Williams that would do what he would do, but like, look, if we can add a talented guy like Terran Arnold to our cornerback room, still on a rookie scale contract, he would easily, if he was, again, and that's just the whole cornerback room to begin with. So, like, for some people, they feel like we don't need to add anything to the cornerback room because they feel that magically DaRon Bland is going to return back to pick 6 form. They think Savon Rebel is automatically going to be and take the next step and be this all-pro player. Not saying everyone is saying that, not saying anyone's insinuating that, but just saying how a lot of people feel confident in the cornerback room, and I just think that is something that we are lacking and something that we need to fix. Those are a few names that I brought up. I talked about Terran Arnold, and I'll talk about some of the veterans. I think what the Dallas Cowboys need to do at the linebacker position, again, I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to attach any draft capital to get any sort of player at this time. I think they're going to look in the free agency pool. And if they were to look right now in the free agency pool for an inside linebacker, the inside linebackers that the Dallas Cowboys should look to add right now at this point of the season and this point of the offseason is they should look to add a Bobby Okereke, a Bobby Wagner, a Matt Milano. Those are 3 names that when I'm going on spell track right now that are popping off the screen, and I think those are going to be the only green dot guys. If the Dallas Cowboys want to bring back Eric Kendricks on a cheap deal, I wouldn't hate that either because he played solid ball for the 49ers last year, and it wasn't like it was terrible. So I think if the Dallas Cowboys can look at those 4 guys, Bobby Okereke, Bobby Wagner, Matt Milano, and Eric Kendrick at the inside linebacker position, I think we're going to be fine. I love Jayshon Barham, rookie. I like DeMarvin Overshown, unreliable with his health. I love D. Winters, but D. Winters hasn't been green dot guy for the majority of his career. Yes, we still have Shamar James. That's 4 linebackers. If we add a veteran to make that now 5 capable linebackers in the room, I would feel a lot confident. Again, if those guys, look, just because I want to add somebody doesn't mean they have to come in here and play and start. But if they can come in here, make the room interesting, and add some competition to the room, I think the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, should be fine, and they should look at that. And they should look to add something like that in the offseason. Something that I think the Dallas Cowboys should be doing right now is they should be also looking at offensive line depth. I think you have a strong starting 5. I feel like whether you like your offensive line or not, we have a lot of great people in this space that talk about how piss poor this offensive line around the league is, right? Not everyone in the league is blessed to have a good starting 5 because most times in the league you could have 2 all-pro guys. If you think about Philadelphia's offensive line, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, impeccable. You think about the interior of the offensive line, it needs work, right? Same thing goes with some other offensive lines. Look at the Chiefs back when they were going to Super Bowls, when they had Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Joe Thuney. They had an impeccable interior 3. They had tackles that were suspect. So right now, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys, their core strength is both guard positions and center. I think you have stability and consistency at the right tackle spot. I think what needs to happen is you need a lot more consistency from your left tackle, and I think that's what makes the starting offensive line a little bit shaky. But right now, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys, they have a solid, depth piece going on right now. I know they have Nate Thomas. that can be your do-it-all guy in terms of he can play guard, he can play tackle in a pinch, so swing offensive lineman. I think Drew Shelton is going to be your backup to Tyler Guyton, whether you think he's ready or not. You have TJ Bass, who can play center and or guard, but I still feel like you're lacking interior-wise of your offensive line. Who is available? Look, I'm looking on Spelltrack right now. There's a lot of names that I don't really know who could be available. I'm looking at Will Hernandez. Kevin Zeitler wouldn't be terrible as a vet. Backup offensive guard. They're saying Mekhi Becton's available. If Mekhi Becton is truly available, I would love if the Dallas Cowboys can add him. I know Taylor Decker for sure is a free agent. That can be your possible starting left tackle, but I don't know what type of money he's going to be wanting at this point in his career, especially since he is a free agent when I'm at the time of this recording. Let's see. If we're just talking about backup offensive line, I think Alex Kappa as a backup offensive lineman is fine. But he's one of those guys where if he's starting multiple games, yes, then why the name sounds familiar, started for the Raiders, but he most importantly was on that starting offensive line for Joe Burrow. And when that team had made it to the Super Bowl that one time, that was a team that the Dallas Cowboys, not the Dallas Cowboys, but he was catching a lot of flack for. So I think he's one of those guys that if he is a backup depth piece, I think that's fine. I think if he's starting for you, I think it's terrible at that point, but that's what it is. Keem Adeniji, I wouldn't be upset if the Dallas Cowboys were to bring him back. He was solid for you last year, in my opinion. But outside of that, really, I mean, I don't really know what you can really do on the offensive line because, again, really good offensive linemen play in this league. They're never free agents for long, and they're just now out here on the street just hanging out. So right now, I feel like those are the main positions. I think offensive line depth, linebacker, corner are like the three positions that I think right now. I would love to add another edge defender. Joey Bosa is possibly thinking about retiring. I think a guy like Leonard Floyd wouldn't be terrible. Von Miller should be a guy we should be looking at. Marcus Davenport wouldn't be terrible. Cleveland Farrell. But outside of that, really, I would like to address edge. But that's really it, man. I think the Dallas Cowboys, for the most part, I feel like, again, if they're just trimming the edge on the bush, and right now they're just looking for ways to just get minutely better and just to get a tad hair better than what they were prior, I think the Dallas Cowboys should be fine this year. But ultimately, I think we have a really good roster right now. Again, we need to do it and we need to show it. But most importantly, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys don't have too many holes on their roster. But prayerfully, they're able to add a couple of guys in free agency that they feel like can come in here and contribute. And I damn sure hope by the time the week of November 4th, right around the trade deadline, the Dallas Cowboys are looking to be aggressive and look for a player that can set us over the top and get us to a place we haven't been in almost 30 years. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.